Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum dear students. Welcome once again in your Zoom online class lecture summary. As you know that we have started unit number 7, matter and water cycle. In previous lecture we have discussed about matter, that anything that has mass and occupies a space is defined as matter. Then we have discussed about the state of matter, that matter exists in three different states, and these are solid, liquid and gas. Then I have told you about how these states can be converted into another state from one to another, or how these are different from each other. We have discussed about the arrangement of particles in solids, liquids and gases. As you can see on your screen that the particles of the solids are closely packed. They do not have space between them, or that's why they have a very less energy and they maintain a regular pattern. And because of this regular pattern, they have a fixed shape and a fixed volume. Means they do not change the shape whether you keep them anywhere. The second state of matter is liquid. I have told you about liquid, that liquids, the particles of the liquids have a very little space between them. That's why they can slide over each other, and therefore they do not have a fixed shape. They assume the shape of the container in which they are kept. But the liquids have a fixed volume. They assume the same shape whether you keep them in the glass, in a bottle or any other container. They assume the same shape, or they occupy the same shape. That's why the liquids have fixed volume but they do not have fixed shape. And they are not rigid because they have a little gap between them. The particles have a little bit, they are far away from each other. That's why they are not rigid, and these particles can slide over each other. The third state of matter is gas. Gas is not rigid and it does not has a fixed shape and does not has a fixed volume. It occupies all the space provided to it. The particles are far away from each other, and the particles of gas have the highest energy as compared to the particles of liquids and solids. Now come to the new lecture, that is the changes of states. The state of matter are changed because of heating and cooling. It means when you heat or when you cool any substance, it can change its shape. Now we have different states, changing states of matter. We will discuss them one by one. When you come to your book on page number 63, you can see that these changing states of matter are discussed step by step. The first is, as you can see, solid to liquid. This, when a solid changes into liquid, this is called melting. What happens when a solid changes into liquid when it is heated? Means when you heat a solid, it turns into liquid, and this is called melting. For example, ice changes into water when you take it out of freezer, and this happens when solid absorbs energy, it turns into liquid. Clear? Why this happens? Because the particles of solid absorb energy and they turn into liquid, and this process is called melting. The second process is when the liquid turns into solid, and this is called freezing. A liquid changes into solid when it is cooled. This is called freezing. For example, water changes into ice when it is kept for some time in the freezer. As this is the common observations in your daily life, that when you keep the water in freezer, it turns into ice, and this process is called freezing. When the solid state of matter changes into when the liquid state of matter changes into solid, this is called freezing. The third changing state of matter is gas to liquid, and this process is called condensation. A gas changes into liquid if it is cooled. When you cool a gas, it turns into liquid, and this is called condensation. Gas particles of gas lost energy and they turn into liquid. For example, If you put ice cubes into a glass of water and keep this glass at room temperature, you see the tiny droplets, and this is the example of condensation. The next is evaporation. A liquid changes into gas when it absorbs heat from the surrounding. When a liquid changes into gas, this process is called evaporation. For example, the sun. When the sun heats up the water in the oceans and lakes, this water evaporates and turns into water vapors, and this is called evaporation. The next changing state of matter is sublimation. Sublimation is a quite an interesting changing state because a solid directly changes into gas without turning into liquid, and this is called sublimation. I have some pictures to show you regarding to these changing states of matter. The first, in which you can see the ice is turning, the solid state of the matter is turning into liquid. The ice, which is the solid state, it is turning into liquid. This is called melting. The second is when you cool the liquid chocolate, it turns into solid shape. This is called freezing. Or when you heat the solid chocolate, the proper shaped chocolate, it turns into liquid chocolate, and this is called melting. These two states, when you heat up, this is called melting, and when you cool the liquid state turns into solid, it is called freezing. So these are the two states, melting and freezing. The next is condensation, which you have read on page number 363, that a gas changes into liquid. And I have gave you the example of, you have seen about the example of droplets of water on the glass. Same like that, when you keep out a cold water bottle out of the freezer, the droplets appear on outside of the bottle. This is because of condensation. Same like that, you can see that on your window panes early in the morning, the droplets of water when touches the cool surface of panes, it turns into liquid. The water vapors when touch the cool surface of window panes, it turns into liquid. So when the gas turns into liquid, this is called condensation. Clear? This is the example of condensation. The next is evaporation, which you have studied on page number 63. When you heat up liquid, it turns into vapors. And the common example is water boiling. When you boil the water, it turns into vapors, and this process is called evaporation. And the last is when the solid directly changes into gas. This is called sublimation. And this is dry ice. Is a solid carbon dioxide which is called a dry ice. It sublimes, it directly changes into this solid ice is directly changes into gas, and it is used in ice cream vendors. Clear? Now hope you have understood about sublimation, melting, freezing, condensation and evaporation. Clear? When gas turns into liquid, it is called condensation. When liquid turns into gas, it is called evaporation. When liquid turns into solid, it is called freezing. And when solid turns into liquid, it is called melting. And when solid directly changes into gas, it is called sublimation. And when the gas directly changes into solid, this is called deposition. Okay? Deposition. Now, come to the next topic, that is water cycle. The water cycle is also an example of the changing states of matter. As you can see on page number 64, the water cycle, with the diagram, the process of water cycle is given, that how this cycle happens. The water cycle is a reversible change in the state of matter. It means that one state of matter first converts into second state and then again come to its previous state. Step by step the changes occur, and this is called water cycle. The diagram given below explains the water cycle. The water on the earth is constantly moving. It is recycled over and over again in the form of rain or dew, fog, mist, frost, hail or snow. It means that the water comes again towards the earth in the form of rain, बारिश, झालाबारी, बर्फ या ओलों की सूरत में, ठीक है, in form of snow, hail. So in the form of these things, the water comes back again towards the earth. So it changes from rain to water vapors to clouds and to rain again. As you can see in this picture, when the sun heats up the water in ocean, this water evaporates. This water, these water vapors go higher in the atmosphere, and they turn, and there the vapors change into liquid. This is called condensation. When these droplets of water, they join together and they become heavier, they come again on the earth in the form of rain. So this is called water cycle. Now the last topic of your book is reversible and irreversible change in the states of matter. Some changes of in the states of matter are reversible, while some changes in the states of matter are irreversible. What is the difference between reversible and irreversible changes? When no new substance is produced during the change, and this is called reversible change. Clear? Heating water changes into liquid state into gaseous, and again changes into water vapors or steam. When it is cooled, they turn into water droplets again. So this is the reversible change. Same like that, when you melt the butter, when you melt the butter, it turns into liquid, and when you cool it, it will again turn into solid state. So melting of butter is no new substance is formed during melting of butter. This is called reversible change. Hope you have understood about these changes. And this reversible change is also called physical change. You must underline this line on page number 65, that these reversible changes are also called physical changes and no new substances are formed in these changes. In irreversible changes, these are the permanent changes. It means that totally new substances are formed in irreversible changes. A material totally changed and produces a new substance. For example, when you cook the food, then after cooking food, you can't get the raw vegetables or raw meat again. Now it is totally changed and cooked. So this is called ir- this is called irreversible changes or chemical changes. Clear? For example, when you boil the egg or when you fry the egg, it does not turn again into raw egg. So this is called irreversible change. Here I have some examples of changes. For example, when ice cream melts, it turns into liquid state, and this liquid state, when you freeze it again, it will turn into ice. It means that no new substance is formed. So this is called reversible change or physical change. But when you burn the wood, or when you burn the paper, or when you fry the egg or boil the egg, it will totally change. You can't get its previous state. So this is called chemical change or irreversible change. Here is a table in which you can understand about difference between reversible changes and irreversible changes. During reversible changes, a substance can return to its original state. Clear? As in the case of melting of butter. And during irreversible changes, a substance cannot return to its original state, as burning of wood or burning of paper. The chemical properties of the substance do not change, means the substance retains its properties. उसकी properties totally वही रहती हैं, change नहीं होती. For example, if the butter is melt or if the butter is in solid state, the taste of the butter will not change. But in case of irreversible changes, the chemical properties of the substance are totally changed. For example, when you burn the wood, it will totally change from its previous state. And the third difference between reversible and irreversible changes is that reversible changes are called physical changes, while irreversible changes are called chemical changes. Okay, dear students, hope you have understood very well about this unit, about matter, the changing states of matter, solids, liquids and gases, and water cycle, and the chemical and physical changes. Okay, wish you best of luck. Thank you. Allah Hafiz.